My name's Dan Osman. I'm the Head of Later Life Lending at UK Moneyman, and what I'd like to talk to you about today is if you're engaged with an equity release advisor, there are some things that are really worth considering at the same time. Okay, it's a bit like ripping a plaster off. You're talking about a mortgage that's going to last you for the rest of your life. So there are some elements that go alongside this that's really worth having a think about, talking to your advisor about, and maybe getting some further advice on as well. One of the things clearly is sorting out your will. A lifetime mortgage is designed to last for the rest of your life. It's secured against your house. Now, after your death, the house will probably need to be sold unless your family want to raise the money to pay off the mortgage. If the house is sold, then the mortgage will be repaid from the proceeds of the sale. And assuming that there's money left over from that, it needs to be distributed as your will suggests, so whether to children or other family members or the RSPCA. So it's important that your will reflects what your wishes are at that point. The other consideration that's really important when you're doing equity release is to think about making sure that you've got lasting powers of attorney in place. Now, lasting powers of attorney often get confused with the role of an executor in a will, but powers of attorney come into effect while you're still alive. Okay, there are two main types. Firstly, there's the financial power of attorney. So this looks after your money and your property. So the idea with this is it gives you the chance to appoint someone who can make decisions on your behalf if you are not able to do them yourself. Okay, that might involve paying bills, that might involve selling the house if you should need to go into care. When the powers of attorney come into effect is slightly different from the two. So the financial power of attorney, you can choose to have that in place. Now, a lot of people as they get older find that this is a useful tool. They might decide that they want help with certain areas of their finances, maybe investments or the financial decisions that involve interacting with IFAs and so forth. So you can choose to have someone act on your behalf in that case, even if you've still got full capacity yourself. Now, the other type of power of attorney is health and welfare, and that one only comes into place when you lose capacity. So a doctor has to be satisfied that you can no longer competently make decisions for yourself in terms of your care, your well-being, maybe where you're housed. So in that point, it's really good to have someone who can step in, who would understand you and make the decisions that you would want to be made if you could still make them. Okay, this can include choice of a care home if that's what's necessary. It can include choice of carers if they come into the property, right down to what people eat and who they see. So really important to have someone that you trust who can make the decisions that you would want to make yourself if you were still able to do that. Okay, talk to your advisor, talk to your family. Really important to get them all involved with this because, the amount of people that I get say, well, I don't know what mum would want, because the conversation has never been had. We're really bad at talking about later life, incapacity and death in this country. When you enter into an equity release contract, these things are right in front of you, and it's worth looking at things honestly, making a plan, and making sure that your family is aware of what you would like to happen. Okay. The other two things to think about at this point is funeral planning. So some people prefer the idea of a prepaid funeral plan. They're available from a lot of different providers. You can search them on the internet. Make sure it's a trusted firm, but it can reduce the cost to your family. But more importantly, it gets you to make decisions about your funeral while you're still alive, and it means that your family has less to worry about when they're grieving. So again, really useful thing to think about when you're doing equity release, because you might want to make financial provision to pay for that at that time. Okay, and the last thing is to have a think about care. Now, we all want to stay in our homes for as long as possible. The government certainly wants us to stay in our homes for as long as possible, and sometimes we will need to pay for our own care. Now, this is a really difficult subject to pin down. If you're 65, we don't know what you might need when you're 85 or 90 or 95. But what we can do is have that conversation. You can get a really good idea of what might be possible given the current market circumstances, and we can have that discussion and involve your family with that, and look at what we might need to do later on. And again, having this care discussion reverts back to the importance of the power of attorney, because if we can have that discussion right at the start, and you appoint your family as your power of attorney, or someone that you trust as power of attorney, and they're involved in that discussion, if you do lose capacity later on, it's really clear that what you want is maybe to stay in your own home and have paid carers to come in. Now, if you've got a power of attorney in place and we can raise more funds on your equity release by a further advance or using a drawdown facility that we've already arranged, then your power of attorney in most cases can arrange that for you. So you can stay in your own home, you can use your own money to pay for the care and maintain that independence, even if you know, you've lost your capacity to make those big financial decisions yourself. At least you know that your wishes are being followed in the future.